Welcome to the Handcrafted Podcast, the business of making things. I'm Paul, founder of Philadelphia Table Company and the Handcrafted Network, and I believe great craftsmanship deserves great business strategy. This podcast is for makers who want to build not just great products, but a thriving business. Each episode will dive into the mindset, systems, and skills that turn craft into success. Hey guys, welcome back to the Handcrafted Podcast. For those of you guys who are joining via YouTube, I'm in the room that I'm building the Murphy bed in. I still got to do the two outsides here. So I'm just working on this studio space. So bear with me as, it just doesn't look super clean yet, but it will soon. But it's actually kind of an interesting thing that I tell to people. I actually told this to someone I'm private coaching yesterday, which is don't let good enough get in the way of, moving forward. And that's kind of how I felt with this podcast. That's how I feel with a lot of stuff in the business, where it's like sometimes we spend so much time perfecting something that we don't ever actually launch the thing. So don't let good enough get in the way. Sometimes we just need to move forward. And I think I've said this before, I think it's the founder of LinkedIn said, if you're not embarrassed of the first thing you put out, you went out too late. So with that in mind, that's what this is. I know I have a studio that I have a vision for what I want to do for it, but I wanted to at least get podcast going and all that sort of stuff. So as I gain more followers and more listens and all of you guys keep joining in week after week, which is absolutely amazing, motivates me to create an amazing space to record these. So anyways, don't let good enough get in the way. Don't let great get in the way of good enough. Yeah, that. All right. Anyways, podcast is brought to you by the Handcrafted Network. For those of you guys who haven't had a chance to check it out yet, I strongly recommend you guys check it out. It's an online community of professional and semi-professional woodworkers. Everybody's working together. Everybody's collaborating. There's been some really great conversations in the community this past week. Just people asking questions, people being super helpful, people going over the top, scheduling calls with each other, all of that sort of stuff. Also, somebody asked me the other day, I was talking to somebody about they were like, oh, but don't, I'm going to take your clients. Why are you doing this? And I was like, dude, I don't really kind of believe in the competition. I think there's plenty of work for everybody out there. And honestly, it's if everybody elevates their business and if everybody's better, it actually evens the playing field a little bit more too. So now that I'm saying this, I guess it does sound a little self-serving, but a company like me that charges what we charge isn't going to be able to compete with somebody who's just a one-off guy in their garage who doesn't care about pricing, who doesn't care about profit, all that sort of stuff, which is fine. Most of the time, I'm not going to lose a client to that. But what happens is it's as everybody elevates, I think the entire industry itself elevates. So it's if I'm demanding a higher price, this person's demanding a higher price, this person's demanding a higher price, it just becomes sort of the new standard of how to do things, as well as we can all collectively, and I think this is the coolest thing about the community, and I always say this to everybody, it's this group of people that is rising up, rebelling against sort of the big box stores, the big fast furniture companies, because it's if all of us are doing it this way, so if all of us have great customer service, if all of us are super organized, it makes all those other companies look so much worse. And my goal, I've said in the group, which I think would be so awesome, is to just hear a big announcement that Wayfair is going out of business or Pottery Barn's going out of business because they can't compete with the local crafts people who are making things for them. So that's kind of my long-term vision of what this is. I want us to sort of have this amazing uprising of artisans that are building things, and the trend is there for sure. I think more and more people are coming to us makers for things as opposed to going to stores. Every time I talk to somebody, they say the same thing. I'm sick of seeing the same crap. Everything is junky. It all looks bad. It's not ethically made. It's made in a factory over in China, all this stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, we talk about all that stuff in the community. If you haven't checked it out, I just urge you to check it out. I think it's something that can be really helpful for you guys. And if you're not sure if it's for you, if you're kind of I'm not really a woodworker, I do this instead, send me an email. We can talk about it. Maybe it's great for you. Maybe it's not. It's a lot of business talk, not a ton of woodworking talk. There is obviously woodworking talk, but the main focus of the stuff that I put in is business type stuff. All right, today I want to talk about AI tools. We had talked about this before, but I wanted to just do kind of like an update of what I'm using, how I'm using these tools, and how you can use them in your business to help further grow and expand your business essentially and make your life a little bit easier. So previously we had talked about a few of the other ones. ChatGPT was a little early in the game, and I just wanted to do like a little bit of a refresh. So the other day I had my meeting with my regular meeting with my operations director, and what happens is we like kind of go through like line item expense stuff, and she was like, "Hey, there's a lot of AI stuff here. Like, do we need to be paying for all of this?" And I was just kind of like, I mean, sort of. So I want to talk you through sort of the tools I'm doing. To me, there isn't one tool. There isn't one AI that's basically doing everything that I needed to do. Everything is kind of uniquely good for its own thing. All right, first out of the gate, ChatGPT. What am I using it for? What am I not using it for? So ChatGPT is really good at image generation. It's really good at creating presentations. It's really good at the thing, like, for example, what I did with it yesterday was I just like drew a sketch and asked, and then I like typed in just kind of like a brain dump. I'm trying to explain something to a commercial client. So I was just like, hey, can you explain the difference between these two bases? And I sketched them out, A and B. This is what I see the difference as. Can you summarize this and make this clear, as well as make like a visual representation showing that? And it did it. It was amazing. It saved me so much time. It saved me so much sketching. It saved all the ambiguity and the, unclearness that would kind of maybe not close the deal in a way. So by doing this, I then said to the client goes, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you so much for such a clear explanation." So to me, that's like a perfect case point of what I use ChatGPT for. The other thing I use it for sometimes is like if we did like a sketch, or I did like a quick, just kind of like maybe like a SketchUp render or something, and then I want ChatGPT to just like make something quickly. That's what it's really good at. Is it's good for like kind of quick call and response stuff. I use it when I need summaries. I use it when, like, for this podcast, I'll summarize this podcast using it. I'll use it if I'm just kind of like quick back and forth questions. The things it's like not super great at, even though it says that it is sort of like deep research and sort of truth telling. So it's never going to be the app that tells you, hey, this is the problem. I mean, it will, but it's going to like sugarcoat it. It's always been like I've used ChatGPT to like try to like plan a vacation with my 4-month-old. And it was like, this is a great choice. And then I would write in, I was like, well, how about this? And it's like, that's actually a great choice too. And then I was like, okay, but what about this? Like, oh yeah, you're right. Maybe it's not a great choice. And I was like, but what about this? Like, oh, well, that's a great choice. So I'm like, that's not like super helpful. So ChatGPT for me is like not great at that kind of thing. It's really good at input output type stuff. So since and ChatGPT used to be better at it, it was kind of like the only real solution. Then what happened was I started using, the next one I want to talk about is Claude. Claude AI is amazing. Claude is what I use for heavy lifting work. So it can make Excel spreadsheets. What I did actually recently was I was putting together like a commercial project for somebody, and I actually had kind of like prices on like a PDF, just kind of like either handwritten or just like a collection of things where it's like, oh, okay, the top's going to cost this, the base is going to cost this, is my labor, blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of was like pencil scratch on this, like, I think it was like a 6-sheet PDF. I uploaded that PDF and said, hey, can you put this into an Excel spreadsheet so that I can properly send this over to the client? Can you make sheets A and B? So A is showing me like what my costs are, and B is what the client sees. And it did it, and it did it multiple times. And I was like, hey, we're trying to compare different bases, base A, B, C, D. And it was actually able to make 4 different sheets, A, B, C, D, that I then sent to the client. And I said, hey, can you make sure that you explain it? So Claude is really, really good at that. The other thing I'm using Claude for right now is like doing sort of like deep research as I work. And you guys know I've talked about this a little bit, is go into like branding and reworking website stuff. It's not going to create like a really good brand for you, but it's really good at like, I was like, hey, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. Can you help create some examples? Tell me where my gaps are. What are the things that I need to do to like help step up my game? What are the things that you think I should suggest change on my website, my branding stuff, all this sort of stuff. And what it does is it asks you, and I always say, hey, act like a marketing person, or I'll prompt it to say, do deep dive, or ask me questions until you have all the answers. One of the responses that I really like for Claude is like, ask me answers one at a time. And then it gives you kind of like multiple choices to be able to answer. So you don't have to like type out all the answers all at once. So it's really good for that kind of stuff, deep Excel stuff, all of that kind of thing that I think is just really, really useful. Deep research, kind of important stuff. So think about like stuff you would maybe like reports, stuff you would like submit into like college kind of thing. So that's what I'm using that for, which has been really great and really helpful. I'm a huge fan of Claude. I also think it's a lot better at copy than ChatGPT. ChatGPT is like good at summarizing, again, like quick call and response type stuff. But Claude, I think, is a lot better with like if you're trying to change copy on something, or it wants to have like a brand voice, all of that. So making sure you sort of upload all of that information. And so with that said, these sort of like, I forget what they're called, language models, I think they're called. These language models are always best if you prompt them with something first. Hey, you're a marketing director. You are my COO. You are my whatever. And actually, Claude, I think, is better at that sort of thing. So Claude, I actually said, hey, like, I need your help figuring out this sort of cash flow situation that we're in. Can you help me figure out a way to like move forward with this? And actually set out like a 30-day plan. Hey, over the next 30 days, this is what you should do. And it was asking me tons of questions and prompts. How many pieces do you have in the queue? What is the cost value of all the stuff in the queue? Blah, blah, blah. Here's the next 30 days. Here's what the next 6 months looks like. Here's what the next 2 years looks like. And it's great. They're obviously not an accountant. It's not a bookkeeper, but it's helpful to think through it. And it also like helps you think through the process. So Claude is great for that. But again, it's not great at the quick stuff, like the quick rendering. It's not good at quick questions, not good at like quick call and response kind of things. So I use ChatGPT for that sort of stuff. The next thing that I want to talk about is Gemini. So Gemini AI I use to actually generate images that are maybe more client facing kind of thing. So and there's like a few of these tools, and I'm still kind of debating, figuring out which one I like better. The other one I was messing around with was Artlist. So it's artlist.ai. And then there's Scenario, which is also really good. And I'm going to break down kind of like all the differences between them and like what I've kind of been like working on. And then the other one is Pomelo AI. So let's break them down a little bit. Artlist. So what I've been using Artlist for, and I'm careful about how much AI stuff I share out there, just because what our aesthetic and our ethos is just like trying to be very photography forward. I'm just a big believer, if everybody's doing one thing, go the opposite way. So if everybody's doing AI stuff, everyone's doing the same backgrounds and the sets and all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen everything's like kind of like an AI ad that like mine potentially would stick out, but also mine could also just look not as good either. So it's kind of up in the air. So what I use, and again, I'll talk about what kind of other people I know are using that's like, and how it's helpful for them, because what I'm doing may not necessarily be as relevant, but what other people are using may be a little bit more relevant. So Artlist is a way to create video, and so is Scenario. So Artlist and Scenario both can do the same thing. Scenario is really good at doing photos. So let me just break apart Artlist and how I'm doing that. So what I'm doing is like I'm uploading a photograph that we've done and turning it into a video. So I'll be like, hey, make this like a walk around, and it's been really amazing. Like make this a 15-second walk around video, because videos, when I'm running ads, tend to perform a little bit better. They tend to perform a little bit better algorithmically. So if you have a photo of something and you want to make it a video, Artlist is great. It's just pretty freaking expensive, to be honest with you. Scenario does the same thing. The other thing that Scenario is really good at is if you could send them a picture of, I mean, obviously we do tables, so tables are the reference. If you send them a picture of the table and say, hey, put this in a studio setting, it will. Put this in a warehouse setting, it will. And it's really good at doing that, and it looks very, very legit. And that's the same thing Pomelo does. So those two are really good for that. Where I've seen a great application of this is, say you're in a very small shop. One of the guys in the group is in a pretty small shop. He doesn't have a really great photo setup, but he makes amazing pieces. So what's happening is the photos are preventing him from really elevating the brand. So he uses, I'm pretty sure he uses Pomelo takes the photo of it, uploads it, and says, hey, put this in a studio setting, clean up the image, blah, 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 blah. And it looks amazing. I was looking on his website. We were talking about it on the group call the other day. It's done an incredible job. So if you don't have an actual setup for really good photos, I think that's a great place to go. Scenario does the same sort of thing. Somebody else I know is using Scenario all the time, running ads using Scenario, and it's been amazing. So I think it's just the prompts that you put into it to make it feel real, make it feel you, make it feel like less generic. Now, like I said, what I'm not using AI for is the actual content that I'm posting on sort of my social media and all that stuff, just because that's an intentional decision for me. I'm not saying that's necessarily the right decision for you. Again, if we have the capability of getting like pretty good photos, and we need to work on our photo studio. We have a way of getting like decent video, so we need to work on that too. So all those are all things that we're working on internally, because I'm trying hard to like go anti-AI with our content to see if it pops a little bit better or sticks out a little bit more. And again, jury's still out. So quick recap. ChatGPT, really good for quick input-output stuff, good for just like quick preliminary research, good for, putting in an image and like having it do a diagram or draw out whatever. It's like, to me, it's like Google basically now. And then Claude AI is really good for deep research stuff, things like think like reports, Excel stuff, working like really heavy like brain work, brainstorming type of stuff. That's where I use Claude. And then as far as like image generation goes, I'm still figuring out which ones are great. I know Gemini is really good. Scenario is really good, because Scenario kind of like puts, and I didn't say this earlier, but Scenario kind of uses all the different AI rendering models into one thing, and you could select which one is better. And then Pomelo AI sort of does the same sort of thing. So I hope this was helpful. If you have an AI tool that you're using that I didn't talk about, I would love to know what that is and how it's like helping you work. Oh, quick thing back. So I haven't used this yet, but Claude apparently can make websites for you. It could print out full HTML things, so you can actually say, hey, duplicate a website like this. Can you give me the HTML for it, HTML code, and it will make an actual website for you. So if you're really bad at websites, if you're really bad at code, you don't want to hire somebody, Claude can do a ton of the heavy lifting, as long as you have somebody else who could like actually implement it onto an actual website, which is going to be a heck of a lot cheaper. You could hire somebody on Fiverr, etc. I haven't messed around with that tool a ton yet, but I definitely recommend doing that. All right, guys, again, hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Please listen, subscribe, share, all of that sort of stuff. If you have questions, if you want something you want me to include on the Office Hours episode, send me an email. If you're curious about the community, send me an email. Everything is paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. And have a great week, guys. Peace.